My conflict and negotiation paper surrounds the characters involved in Hidden Figures, the movie. Here is the backstory for the movie. The Russians had just gotten a man into space. NASA was obsessed with the fact that they were second in a race of two. Three African American women, mathematicians, known as human computers, are brought into the predominantly all-male NASA territory to not only get an astronaut into orbit, but to also get him back home. Catherine, Dorothy, and Mary overcome multiple issues: race discrimination, gender discrimination, and professional aspirations in order to be what they were born to be, respected. Katherine Johnson was portrayed throughout much of the movie as an avoider. She avoided conflict by keeping quiet and not correcting others with their incorrect calculations and their outright discrimination against her as a Black woman. While she did not sulk or whisper things under her breath, her frustrations could be seen during conflicting moments between herself, family members, and church members. Dorothy Vaughan was portrayed throughout the movie as an accommodating character. While she did not like the segregation at NASA, from the bathrooms to the rules for becoming a manager, she approached these conflicts pragmatically. She negotiated her inclusion with the IBM 7090 by first learning of the reliance NASA was going to be placing on the machine. Mary Jackson was as adversarial and competitive as they come. She fought against any form of discrimination, and in the movie took her fight to court in order to take classes to earn a promotion from being a mathematician to becoming an engineer. As the book describes, an adversarial or competitive negotiation style will engage at every conflict opportunity. And Mary Jackson did this. During conflict and negotiation, Dorothy Vaughan was more of the harmonizer. She saw the bigger picture and handled problems by dividing the tasks needed to overcome them and then persuading others to follow her lead. Al Harrison could be categorized as the controller. Others looked to him for guidance and his leadership. Though sometimes these seemed to flop around, he eventually came to realize some conflicts did not need to be present. This included the use of bathrooms in the various buildings of his division and allowing everyone involved to be part of the negotiation process, regardless of their gender or the color of their skin. Mary Jackson approached conflict deliberately, as a pragmatist would. Her desire to become an engineer had nothing to do with privilege or segregation. It was the natural progression of her job, and as a pragmatist, she saw it as a realistic step. Katherine Johnson's attitude showed someone who was detail-oriented, somewhat of an action seeker. The book describes this type of person as one who looks at specifics and approaches things sequentially. Katherine was not easily distracted, as many action seekers are, and her approach to conflict surrounded more of what was ethical and right versus things that had always been. On the slide, you will see a conversation between Vivian and Dorothy, as well as some scenarios that bring about conflict and open up opportunities for dialogue. As the three main characters insert more of their communication skills, they are able to negotiate working conditions that are more just. They also earn team members. These team members learn to appreciate them and the information they present, as well as their tenacity during negotiation opportunities. While the statement is funny, Al Harrison makes a valid point when he instructs his team that here at NASA, we all pee the same color. At this point in the conflicts between his employees, his statement reflects that there could be a win-win outcome. Mutual respect and empathy benefits all, especially when problems arise. Don't be afraid to be the first one to initiate change or offer a new solution. As our book explains, studies have indicated that in male-female interactions, males tend to dominate the conversation, and this ideal caused much conflict and later was negotiated between Katherine Johnson and her immediate supervisor. By releasing some of the control he felt over the projects Katherine was involved in, Paul was able to see her knowledge was a benefit to the negotiations that occurred in Nassau and not a hindrance. It did not belie his role as her supervisor, but enhanced his leadership ability. Al Harrison learned a lesson by opening his eyes and seeing what was taking place around him. By taking care of his employees, he was taking care of himself. By allowing some conflicts to reconcile themselves, he empowered his staff to work out their differences and find a compromise that all could eventually live with. As we read the scriptures, we come across a number of people like Catherine, Dorothy, and Mary, figures within stories of the Bible. One of those hidden figures, who might not have been otherwise noticed, was Abigail, the wife of Nabal. In 1 Samuel verse 25, we learn how Abigail took loaves of bread, skins of wine, sheep, and various forms of food to David and his men. She was grateful for the loving way David treated their shepherds out in the fields. She was a giving servant and a wise negotiator. She was a quick thinker and resourceful during conflict, and the talents God gave her were used for good. We come to understand that it is God who created the talents within these women and who ordained that they use them to the best of their abilities, no matter the struggle or the conflict. From the man he made all the nations, that they should inhabit the whole earth, and he marked out their appointed times in history and the boundaries of their lands. Acts 17, verse 26.